Full and uncut versions available on Patreon. Check in the description below.
Greetings once again, Pokemaniacs. Duuz-Diz-Din back again with more of the Pokemon Adventures manga. And this is a chunky one. This volume is 15 chapters in total. And so, as recommended by Steven, who I can't thank enough, said that the best way to consume this would be in 3 separate parts, and yeah, that's definitely what I'm gonna have to do. No way I can cram all of this into just one recording, so stay tuned for all of that. But last time, Red suffered a intense defeat by Deoxys, losing a lot of its confidence. But the arrival of Mewtwo and the encouragement of his friends, who also wanted to save their loved ones, helped him get back on track. So they all traveled to Trainer Tower, fighting through a swarm of unknown, saving Professor Oak and Green's parents. But Giovanni unleashed a special device, very similar to the one in the Mewtwo movie, called the M2 Bind, which would restrain Mewtwo. But Mewtwo had a plan to get it off. Unleash the advanced techniques of Red, Blue, and Green's Venusaur, Charizard, and Blastoise simultaneously, precise enough to free him and nullify the attack before it could do him in. We also find that the 2 gems that Giovanni recovered from Hoenn, the remains of the red and blue orbs, allow the climate in Kanto to simulate that of Hoenn, so that Deoxys can perform to its fullest potential. Meanwhile, Yellow is perusing the Viridian City Gym, only to come upon Silver, who is in search of his parentage. Ironically enough, Giovanni is searching for his child as well, using Deoxys' abilities to pinpoint where he is, Viridian City. Meanwhile, Green and Professor Oak go in order to transfer the data from the old Pokédexes to the new ones. In the process, Blue and Green's old ones are destroyed, leaving only Red's as the original. But the data is transferred just before a swarm of Deoxys clones can bear down upon them. Time is ticking away as Giovanni has made his escape with the 3 beasts. What'll happen next? Join me as I find out, won't you? Alright, the final part of the Fire Red and Leaf Green story arc. Nice little cover, Deoxys, Green, and Silver on the cover. Pretty simple but effective. It's volume 25. Nice little shot of our main protagonist. Alright, Adventure 288. Give it your best, Blastoise. Oh, actually, back to putting Pokemon names in there. Aboard Team Rocket's flying vessel as they make their way to Viridian City. Giovanni says, standing next to Deoxys, head for the Kanto region. Change course to Viridian City. But the handkerchief that Deoxys was holding, it releases it and it flutters to the ground. Car silently grabs it and then, going to the back of the ship, whispers, "Zerd, come over here a sec. This handkerchief, who does it belong to? Who is it the boss is trying to find by using Deoxys' power anyway?" Zerd looks at the handkerchief but doesn't respond. Car says, "I don't like you keeping secrets from me. If you won't answer my question, I'll tell you what I think." He then brings out the photo saying, "I think this handkerchief belongs to the kid in that photo. And I think that kid is the boss's son." Zerd simply smiles saying, "So, what about it, Car? We captured Deoxys to help the boss find his son. You got a problem with that? I mean, it's honestly a good point to bring up. Well, why is that a problem?" But Car gets angry saying, "As a matter of fact, I do. If he's the boss's son, he'll take over after the boss is gone. The boss said he was going to choose our next leader out of the 3 of us. That's the only reason I've done all this for him. And now you're telling me all this time we were just helping him find his long-lost heir? Oh, getting a little jealous, huh? I don't accept that." And Car brings out his fortress, and he fires upon Zerd. Zerd manages to dodge the blast. Oh, okay, I didn't realize. But tendrils come launching from behind Zerd. Car and his fortress are instantly downed, as we see that it was Deoxys who did the deed. Zerd simply laughs, as Giovanni says, "Well done. Your loyalty to me is impressive, Deoxys." Zerd, toss Car in the storage room. Zerd gives a bow saying, "Of course." And Orm, you better not get any funny ideas either. Orm, hauling Car into the back, says, "You don't have to worry about me. I don't want a promotion. As far as I'm concerned, he tosses car in the back. If the boss gets reunited with his family, that's great. It's hard to tell with that never-changing face of his. Is he being honest, or is he just on guard? Meanwhile, back at Trainer's Tower, where our heroes are fighting off the horde of Deoxys, as Blue rides his Charizard who's blasting the copies, he questions, "You can tell if Deoxys is here or not, can't you, Red?" Red says, he says, "Somehow you're able to sense when Deoxys is around. But you're not getting that feeling now, are you?" As Venusaur is smacking away the Deoxys with its vines, Red calls out, "Yes, I can. And not now, no." Blue says, "Then I think I ought to take charge of this plan." Red questions, "What?" Blue calls out, "Did you hear that, Mewtwo? As of this moment, I'm in charge. I heard that you only communicate with Blaine and Red, but I need you to take orders from me now." Mewtwo pauses and then says, "Very well." Meanwhile, Red thinks to himself Mewtwo is talking to Blue telepathically and obeying him, as we see Blue calling out orders to Mewtwo. Meanwhile, the robotic system R calls out for him its robotic eye, "Pointless, pointless, pointless. Whatever you do is pointless." Meanwhile, Blue calls out, "Mewtwo, stay there until I tell you to move. And Red, give me your Venusaur. I'll send you my Charizard in return." Oh, a trade-off. Interesting. Red questions, "What?" While Blue just tells him, "Exchange your Pokemon with me. Just do as I say." Red says, "Okay," and they swap their Pokemon. So it'd be a little bit more interesting if Blue at least had Blastoise, but this is calling out because their Japanese colors are red and green. Blue tells him, "Red, all your Pokemon fought Deoxys yesterday and got injured. The Pokemon Center has been destroyed, so they haven't been healed. Of the 3 Pokemon I need for this plan, your Venusaur is clearly the weakest." Oh, harsh. But, he's still kind of injured. "For my plan to work, the power of the 3 attacks has to be exactly the same. We'll use Venusaur's attack as a baseline, and have Charizard and Blastoise adjust the power of their attacks to equal Venusaur's. But first, I need to know what that baseline is. Red, have Charizard use Blast Burn. Sora and I will use Frenzy Plant." Meanwhile, Mewtwo chuckles to himself, "Like fire and water." Okay. I don't really understand what that comment is. Maybe there's a different translation? Oh, Fire Red and Leaf Green. Ow. Okay, it was a pun on the titles. Gotcha. Meanwhile, Blue calls out, "Green, can you hear me, Green?" Green, down below with Professor Oak, says, "Oh no." Blue calls out on his Pokegear. Well, Green answers saying, "Yes, I hear you." Blue says, "Can you come back upstairs?" Green says, "No, I can't." Blue calls out, "Then shoot Hydro Cannon from where you are now. Shoot up at the floor above you. The attack needs to be strong enough to break through the ceiling." Green says, "Okay, here goes, Blue." She brings out her Blastoise and has it use Hydro Cannon, ripping a hole through from the bottom floor to the top, much to the shock of R. As Blue calls out, "Good." He then commands Venusaur to use Frenzy Plant, while Red commands Charizard to use Blast Burn. All 3 attacks rip towards the top from below. R sees this and says, "You're aiming at the ceiling? How foolish. Shooting special moves at the ceiling won't accomplish anything." Blue says, "Green's attack is a bit weak, but that's because she's shooting up from the floor below. Red, lower the power of your attack a little. Green, you need to raise the power of your attack more. Can you do it?" Blue calls out, "I don't know. I'll try." Blasty and Blastoise goes in a little bit harder, although it's getting hit by the recoil. So Green's other Pokemon, Snubbull, Jigglypuff, and Nidorina, all come in to help out. She tells them, "Blasty can't hold it by itself. I need all of you to hold it." Oak tells her, "Green, your Pokemon are too small to do that." Green says, "No, they aren't. I've gotten back in touch with my specialty as a Pokemon trainer, and I've got my trusty Pokedex back. I'm the Evolver. I can tell when and how a Pokemon will evolve." Suddenly, Snubbull evolves in a Granbull. Then she says, "Nido and Jiggly too." And she brings out 2, what are those, Moonstones? Yeah. Jigglypuff and Nidorino start to evolve. As Green tells Oak, "The strength of the evolutionary stones will turn this Nidorina into a Nido Queen, and Jigglypuff will turn into a Wigglytuff. Now's the time to part with your old selves. Blasty, your newly evolved friends are going to give you a hand. Hang in there." As Blastoise is now supported by Granbull, Nido Queen, and Wigglytuff. Which, yeah, that's plenty of support. Blue calls out, "Green managed to increase Hydro Cannon's power, Now the powers of the 3 special moves are equal. Green, tilt the hydro cannon 70 degrees to the north. Green says, okay. Blue says, you too, Red. Focus all the attacks on the middle of the floor. Now, Mewtwo, jump into the very center of the colliding moves. And, well, Mewtwo gives a nod and does just that. The 3 attacks hit it simultaneously, seemingly destroying the armor. R laughs, you idiot, you amuse me. So Mewtwo has chosen to be destroyed. But Mewtwo psychically calls out, though how the computer hears that I don't know. Is that what you think? R looks to the destroyed armor, saying, what? Mewtwo is gone. But I heard it. It can't be. R tries to look behind itself as we see Mewtwo using its psychic spoon to bend outside of the tower and around to where R can't see. R says, Mewtwo, it got out of the M2 bind and out of the tower? But how? Mewtwo tells him, why don't you figure it out using that supercomputer brain of yours? Mewtwo, oh-ho-ho, swings his spoon, slicing through the tower, saying, if you can, that is. The top of the tower comes crashing down on the outside. M2 saying, the 3 special moves destroyed the M2 bind and canceled each other out as he finally turns off. Red is riding around on Charizard outside the building saying, yeah, we did it. We trapped Deoxys' duplicates inside too. Blue, green, huh? Oh hey, Mewtwo, are we the only ones outside the tower? He sees Mewtwo floating beside him. As Red looks towards the tower, he questions, where's Blue, Green, and Professor Oak? Suddenly a spout of water comes blasting out of the sliced off top half, launching Red's new Pokédex. Red says, the new Pokédex. Mewtwo says, let your friends do their part here. Let's go, Red. It's time for us to pursue Giovanni and Deoxys. Let's catch up to them and defeat them. This will be our final battle together. Mewtwo takes off with Red and Charizard in tow. Okay, so I guess Red's not trading back Charizard just yet. Info on Professor Oak. Interesting. That was pretty good. I still feel their plan was a little much, but hey, what can I say? It worked. Right? Adventure 289. Surprised by Sneasel. As Red and Charizard fly away with Mewtwo, Red looks back towards the half-destroyed building, seeing a struggling Blue and Venusaur. Blue looks up to him, thinking, what are you waiting for? Hurry up, go! Well, worried Red says, Blue, you exchanged Star with Charizard so I could go after Giovanni, didn't you? Arrow's wings are injured, and I have no way of flying there. That's why he lent me his Charizard. Mewtwo says, that's right, Red. When Blue told me the details of his plan, he said, and in the flashback, Blue tells Mewtwo, if we succeed and you manage to break that out of that restraint, I want you to get rid of the Deoxys duplicates any way you can. Chop the tower down if that's what it takes. Oh, Mewtwo took that literally. I told Charizard to escape with Red. Venusaur went along with my plan too, so as to free up Red out to hunt down Giovanni and Deoxys. With this realization, Red says, Blue, Sar. He shoves his Pokédex in his pocket, saying, okay then. Let's do it. I'll do it. I won't waste this opportunity you've given me. And so he takes off with Charizard and Mewtwo. Meanwhile, looking a little bit worse for wear, Blue is exhausted as Green and Professor Oak make their way to where he's at. Oh, I actually forgot. They add in Charizard, Mewtwo, and Deoxys. There we go. Oak looks through the hole saying, has Red left? Blue says, yeah, he's gone, Grandfather. Oak questions, but what about Red's new Pokédex? Green tells him, I had Blasty use Water Stream to shoot it up to him. I'm sure he got it. I'm glad you're sure. Blue then thinks, if we'd been even a moment late jumping into the hole Blastoise created with its Hydro Cannon, we would have been trapped inside the top floor with all those Deoxys duplicates. Green says, right, that was close. Oh god, so they jumped down in a second, just as the top building with all the Deoxys clones slid off. That's wild. Blue says, Green's Pokemon have defeated the Deoxys duplicates left on this floor. We've managed to put a stop to all of them. Well done, Green. Green says, I had the hardest job because I had to make that shot through the floor. I hope you're impressed. I guess you could say I'm the MVP of this operation. Oh, and here's your new Pokédex. Blue reaches for it, saying, you always say one word too many. But before he can grab the Pokédex, his hand slinks down and he starts to pass out right into Blue's arms. He shrieks, saying, Blue, Are you alright? Blue, as he slumped up against the wall, says, I can't say that I am. Now that goes for everybody who stayed behind at Sevi Islands. This is as far as we can go. Dang. All of them look through the hole where Red left. As Blue says, we'll just have to keep our fingers crossed and hope that Red succeeds. Green says, Red won't let us down. I have faith in him. Meanwhile, back in the Viridian gym with Yellow and Silver, Yellow, seeing the sketch and then the bust of Giovanni, says, Huh? Why? Why is the image I received from your Sneasel a picture of the statue at Viridian Gym? She grabs Sneasel, saying, Sneasel, have you been here before? Do you know this man? She then looks to Silver. Also gotta add in Sneasel. Love the little thing. Silver says, it's no surprise, really. I've never been to this gym or seen this statue before, but the image of this town has always been burned into my memory. Yellow questions, huh? Silver explains. It all began during the battle at the Pokémon League tournament. Green tried to help me escape by using teleport. And at the moment I teleported, I saw an image of this town. This evergreen town. I found out later that Green was trying to teleport me to my hometown. She didn't know where that was, so she tried to locate it by searching inside my subconscious using my Pokemon. Okay. See, that makes Green doing that a little bit more multifaceted, which is a bit much, but that's Green in a nutshell. She's always got plans within plans somehow. Later, I did some research on the image I saw, and it turned out to be Yellow finishes questioning Viridian City. Silver says, that's right. I'm glad my hypothesis was correct. He walks toward the statue saying, Viridian Gym and the statue of the former gym leader. I've succeeded in finding a lead to my roots. And you seem to know this man, he says, turning to her. Yellow doesn't answer, gulping hard. And Silver questions, well, tell me. Who is he? Yellow, her knees trembling, says, He's Giovanni, the former gym leader of Viridian City Gym, and the true leader of Team Rocket, Giovanni. Wind starts to pick up throughout the forest, and Yellow goes running outside. The Silver follows. Yellow says, the forest. Viridian Forest is the trees. They sense that something is about to happen. They're worried. Oh, you are totally feeling the power of aura. She then grabs a leaf and uses it to create a whistle, bringing out her Do Trio, who rushes over to her bearing her hat. Yellow gets her Pokeballs at the ready, putting on her straw hat. But Silver questions, what do you mean? What's about to happen? What is the forest afraid of? Yellow turns to Silver, saying, Silver, you came in search of your ties to Viridian City, and you found out about Giovanni. What now? Silver, with a determined look in his eye, says, well, I'm gonna find this Giovanni guy and meet him. I have to figure out what my connection to him is. Yellow shouts, I understand, but we're talking about the boss of Team Rocket here. Silver smiles, dismissively saying, you're afraid I'll get hurt, aren't you? He grabs his Pokeball, saying, but I don't care, even if I have to face him in battle. Heh, a fight. What else is new? Silver suddenly hears something, and as the wind continues to pick up, Yellow questions, what's that? They then see the helicopter overhead. Silver brings out, is that the Silph Scope? Are there multiple? Yeah, And he uses the Silph Scope in order to scout it out from a distance, seeing the very iconic R emblazoned on the bottom of the helicopter. Silver smiles, saying, looks like they've saved me the time of looking for them. Yellow says, Team Rocket? Silver says, they've come right to me. According to what you just told me, these aren't random Team Rocket grunts like the ones I fought before in Johto. They're the true elite of Team Rocket, and their real leader. As we see Giovanni and the remaining two beasts along with Deoxys gazing down from inside their vessel. Giovanni says, I had to narrow down his location to Viridian City. I had you narrow down his location to Viridian City, and he's not in the city or the forest, but near the gym. Is that right, Deoxys? Deoxys doesn't respond, but Giovanni passes it, saying, very well. I trust your powers of divination. I believe you, and I'll go there myself. But suddenly, something strikes Giovanni from within. He clutches his chest and falls to his knees. Surd calls out, boss? And Giovanni says, Surd, Orm. Surd responds, yes. Giovanni tells her, go. My son is right below us. Surd gives a bow, saying, oh no. Giovanni says, I'll be waiting here. Don't come back without him. Surd gives a bow, saying, yes, sir. As it looks like Orm gives a bit of a salute. They take a small vessel downward. As Yellow says, they're coming down. Silver, a broad smile on his face, says, looks like you were right. Don't think I can settle this peacefully. This is getting interesting. He brings out his Gyarados. It's always funny to me seeing the red Gyarados because I remember having that thing for the longest time in game. But Silver commands Gyarados to use Fire Blast upon the ship. Yellow questions, "What are you doing, Silver?" But the ship evades, launching out Bayonet? Yeah, Bayonet, which uses what looks like Shadow Ball on Gyarados. It manages to connect, injuring Gyarados quite a bit. Yellow says it got attacked by Shadow Ball. Silver tells it, "Rest and recover from the damage you received." Gyarados does just that and manages to bounce back instantly. Oh, but Bayonet seems to be eating something. Yellow says it's easy snatch to take back the energy your Gyarados restored with rest. Oh, jeez. Silver looks towards the ship saying, "That's enough of your sneaky tricks. Show your face. You came down here because you wanted to speak to us, right?" Meanwhile, Surd is looking at Silver on her pad, checking the resemblance, saying, "We've got a more than 99% physical match to his father, as well as the results of our growth simulation program. The divination powers of Deoxys never cease to amaze me." You have to tell Giovanni the good news right away. The ship lands and the hatch opens, much to the shock of Silver and Yellow. Surd and Orm get out of the vessel. Surd gives a bow saying, "We've come for you." Silver questions, "You're not Giovanni, are you?" Surd says, "No, we're Surd and Orm, Giovanni's personal troupe. Pleased to make your acquaintance." But Silver roars as well as his Gyarados, saying, I'll only speak to Giovanni. Bring me Giovanni." As Orm covers his ears from the roar, Surd turns a little bit, saying, "He's stubborn just like our boss. But you've got to be patient. You're going to be our boss someday. You can't afford to be impulsive." Silver questions, "What are you talking about? Just hurry up and get me Giovanni." Silver sends in his Murkrow, but it's easily batted away by Surd's Bayonet. She sighs, saying, "Bad boy. We can always take you by force, you know." As Silver slinks back, Orm says, "Are you sure about that, Surd? He means a lot to our boss." Surd says, "Don't worry, I'm not going to hurt him. As a matter of fact, we ought to show him what Team Rocket means for his future." Orm says, "Gotcha." And Orm brings out one mean-looking Jumpluff. As Surd says, How would you like to have a multi-battle with us?" Silver says, "Bring it on." As Yellow tugs at Silver's arm, saying, "What? I'm gonna fight too?" Yeah, you're already involved in this, and your Pikachu's already out, and it looks like it's time for battle. It's a 2-on-2. It's been a while since we had a good one of those. This is fun. I'm glad Yellow got involved in this. You see her want not to really get involved in combat, but yet again, she gets dragged into it whether she wants to or not. It makes for a fun time. Alright, Adventure 290. A well-journeyed Jumpluff. As Surd has Bayonet use Double Edge on Gyarados, Gyarados manages to hold its ground. As Silver says, "Breathe your fire again, Gyarados. Fire Blast!" The Fire Blast is unleashed on Bayonet, who manages to avoid it, and it seems to even manage to singe Surd a little bit. Holding her cheek, Surd says, his power is quite impressive. Your Gyarados is one of those rare red ones, too. I see you've got good taste, just like Giovanni." Yellow sees this, thinking Silver is having a tough time of it. His opponent must be really powerful. But Orm says, "Hey, pay attention. This is a multi-battle. You have to help your partner, or you'll both lose." As he sends in his Jumpluff, he palm strikes at Jumpluff's fuzz, setting out a bunch of cotton spores. Yellow says, "That's an incredible cloud of cotton puff spores. I can't see a thing." She calls out to Silver, who comes in, grabbing her shoulder, saying, "I'm here. Keep close to me. You're blinding us so you can launch a surprise attack, aren't you?" Orm comes out of the cloud of spores, saying, "Bingo. That's not all. Jumpluff is a Pokemon who can travel around the world by riding the wind. My Jumpluff has done just that, and on its way it's acquired every kind of spore you could think of. Poison, paralysis, sleep. It's like a lottery of ailments. You don't know what you'll get until the spores touch you. Let's see." The spore lands on Yellow's Pikachu. Orm says, "What did you win?" And instantly Pikachu is paralyzed. Yellow calls out to her Pikachu. Red says, "My Gyarados," as we see his Gyarados fall asleep, hitting the ground hard. Silver says, "No, I thought those were just ordinary spores. As long as we're stuck inside this toxic cloud, it doesn't matter what Pokemon we call out. What do we do now?" Surd applauds, saying, "Nice work, Orm." And Orm just laughs. Surd says, "You managed to incapacitate him without harming him, too. If we keep knocking out his Pokemon like this, he'll give up soon. Right, young master. But Yellow calls out, Silver, I have an idea. A fishing pole. As Silver sees what Yellow has in his hand, it has in her hands, he says, a fishing rod? Suddenly, the Pokeball on the end of the lure starts to move around Yellow and Silver in a circle. Silver says the Pokeball and string are moving as if they're alive. Oh, that's right. Green told me Yellow has the ability to control things as big as a Pokeball. Yellow says, I'll roll the Pokeball with the string attached to it, outside the cloud of spores where the enemy won't notice it. And then her Pokeball goes next to certain Orm, opens up, and brings out Omnanite, Omnistar, and she has her Omni use Blizzard. This utterly freezes Jumpluff, as well as its spores, much to the delight of Yellow and Silver. Third, Shiver saying she froze our Jumpluff and all its spores with a single move. Is she using a specially trained Pokemon or something? Orm brings out his Pokedex saying, I'll find out. The Black Pokedex car created by analyzing and stealing the technology of the original Pokedex has a function the original Pokedex doesn't. A function that converts a Pokemon's power into numbers. Oh, really? That's wild. Brings up 42 for Omnistar. Orm shows Sir saying, Look, it's nothing. And her other Pokemon are Butterfree, reads 20, Golem reads 39, Dodrio reads 33, Raticate reads 25, Formless, they're so weak, it's a joke. The success of that attack was just pure coincidence. She just got lucky. But Yellow speaks up saying the forest has been the stage of many intense battles in the past. I don't want to go through that pain again. I want you to stop fighting and leave this forest, now. What the heck? There's a rustling in the forest, and Orm's Pokedex starts to go haywire. Orm looks at it saying, it doesn't make sense. Surd questions what? Orm says, the numbers. The reading I got from those Pokemon just now. But, wait, what? No. They couldn't just jump up like that, could they? Meanwhile, back aboard the vessel, Giovanni struggling to breathe as he says to himself, I'm so close. But suddenly, he catches sight of something on the monitor as he sees Red, Charizard, and Mewtwo. He says, what the? That's Red and Mewtwo. Impossible. That means he managed to escape, he says with a smile. From the tower and the computer R and the M2 bind, not to mention all those Deoxys duplicates. Every obstacle I put in front of you. You're not an opponent who falls for cheap tricks. I should know that better than anyone. Very well, since my aim is to achieve a perfect victory, I'll just have to get a hold of. He pulls a lever and turns to Deoxys saying, You'll help me, won't you, Deoxys? As the top of the ship opens, Giovanni says, My son, I have a score to settle before I am reunited with you. My defeat 5 years ago, here in Viridian City. As Red and Mewtwo approach the ship, Red calls out, Look, Mewtwo, it's Team Rocket's airship. This must be Viridian Forest. But Red is shocked as he sees the top of the ship open up into an arena. Red says, Team Rocket's airship has turned into a Pokemon battlefield. That's a heck of an arena, dude. Dang, that's kinda cool. Overly theatrical, but still cool nonetheless. Now for Chapter 291. Can Mewtwo dish it out with a spoon? It's a little late to be questioning that. A fun title nonetheless. As Red and Mewtwo approach, Red calls out Team Rocket's airship has turned into a Pokemon battlefield. But suddenly, Red gets that feeling again. That scratchy feeling on his body. Red says, I'm getting that weird premonition again. Mewtwo questions, what's wrong, Red? Red tells him, Mewtwo, it's just like before. The first time I fought Deoxys, my heart skipped a beat. It was like the blood in my body was flowing backwards. I'm sure of it. Deoxys is there. Deoxys is inside that airship waiting for us. And I still do not get the connection between him and Deoxys. Oh, suddenly, the little poles on top of the airship battlefield form into a force field, entrapping Red, forcing Red, Mewtwo, and Charizard to land. And once they do and Red recalls Charizard, the center of the arena opens up, and on an elevator, Giovanni rises up to meet his opponents. Red calls out, Deoxys and Giovanni. And Giovanni sneers at Red. Giovanni calls out, Welcome, Red and Mewtwo. How does it feel to look down upon me from such a height? Red questions, what do you mean? Giovanni begins to unbutton his shirt saying, well, that's not something you do to a minor. You are in for in your rights to feel superior. After all, it was you who defeated me in my last battle, Red. I just wanted to make that clear before this battle commences. What was that device Giovanni had? It looks kind of familiar. Now, as your challenger, I must look up at you. I come not as the former Viridian gym leader or even the head of Team Rocket. Just an ordinary trainer with no special title. You see how it is? Now come down here and fight, champion, Giovanni says, taking off his outer coat, revealing his abs. Man, there's just an intensity to Giovanni I was not expecting here. And Red meets him in kind, taking off his jacket, glaring down at Giovanni. He steps down, right up to Giovanni, getting right up in his face. And Giovanni says, let's keep this simple. We'll fight a one-on-one battle between Mewtwo and Deoxys. Well, what do you say? Red says, sure, fine by me. And so, Mewtwo meets Deoxys, ready for battle. Mewtwo questions, so you're the real Deoxys? I'm glad to finally meet you. Deoxys doesn't respond. Mewtwo says, my name is Mewtwo. Your Deoxys duplicates provided quite a challenge for me at the Sevi Islands. Again, Deoxys does not respond. As Mewtwo forms his psychic spoon, he says, but it's a joy to finally be able to face you, the mysterious Pokemon from outer space. While Deoxys forms his tendrils into something. Oh, he readies his tendrils. As Mewtwo goes for a strike with his psychic spoon, Deoxys manages to guard against it. Suddenly, the battle goes airborne, Mewtwo striking out at Deoxys. But again and again it defends. Red calls out to Mewtwo, while Mewtwo says, I'm counting on you, Red. I'll follow your orders without question in this battle. I will trust you. Red gives a deep gulp, and as Giovanni waves his hand, Deoxys sees this. Oh, and just as Mewtwo goes in for a strike, Deoxys cycles through speed form, defense form, attack form. Oh, and much to Mewtwo's shock, Mewtwo's strike Deoxys' strike smashes Mewtwo into the ground. As Mewtwo starts to recover, he says, so that's what Red was talking about. Giovanni tells him, exactly. Form change. The power of the stones I created at the Sevi Islands reach as far as the area around Viridian City. Consequently, Deoxys can transform as freely as it wishes. It can transform into 4 form, and at an incredible rate of speed. Let's see how you handle a battle with an opponent who keeps changing form every second. Mewtwo asks, what's your strategy, Red? But Red says, I don't have a strategy. Mewtwo looks to him saying, what? But Red tells him, it's pointless to plan ahead when fighting Deoxys. Whatever we do, it'll just change his form to slip out of it and retake the advantage. Just use your most powerful moves and strike as hard as you can. Oh, and Mewtwo questions, yes? Red says, aim for the crystal in its chest. Mewtwo sends out a powerful blast towards Deoxys. Oh, and whoa, that was the end of the chapter. Okay. I guess I'm trying to get it with a sneak attack. Alright, and this will be our last chapter for this video. Adventure number 292, Bested by Bayonet. Orm looks to his black Pokédex saying, greetings. The powers of the Pokemon are increasing rapidly. What's going on? And as the Yellow's Pokemon flank her at the ready, Orm says, are the Pokemon responding to her anger? Silver has a shocked look as he looks towards Yellow. But actually that's just kind of how it goes for her. She's able to bring out her best through weird circumstances. Yeah, Yellow's a bit of an anomaly. I wouldn't mess with that one. A pissed off Yellow does some weird stuff. As Orm shirks back, Surge simply laughs, saying, if you're right, that's quite an interesting development. But we have a bigger problem on our hands at the moment. Look up, Orm. Orm looks to the airship, seeing the battle stadium opened up. Orm says, our airship. It transformed into a stadium mode. Does that mean... Third says, look, it's Mewtwo. It must have followed us all the way from the Sevi Islands. Hearing this, Silver brings out his Silph Scope, seeing the battle between Mewtwo and Deoxys. Silver says, a battle between two Pokemon I've never seen before. Third tells him, yes, that's Deoxys, a Pokemon who holds within it the power of the universe. It's under the control of our boss, Giovanni. And Giovanni is your father, young Master Silver. Which, I mean, I feel like he probably already knew, but I guess he wasn't quite sure. No, it's kind of obvious, but at the same time, it's just like, Really? Yellow is shocked. Silver's legs begin to give out and he says, no, no, Giovanni is my father? My father? The leader of Team Rocket is my... He shouts, you're lying. And in a very wild scene, Surge's bayonet approaches as she says, you are very, very shaken, aren't you? And that shock has created a space in your mind, which you usually keep well guarded. Yellow shouts, no, don't look into its eyes, Silver. But it's too late. Bayonet goes on the approach and hits Silver with something? What did it do? It just says it knocked him unconscious. Okay. That's wild. Seriously, what did Bayonet do? Gee, that was kind of freaky. Weird. As Silver drops to the ground, Yellow tries to reach for him, but Surd, with a freaky quickness, manages to just scoop him up and jumps in the waiting vehicle with Orm at the helm. Surd says, let's go. Orm says, coming. Yellow shouts, stop, as Butterfree clamps onto her, lifting her up in the air in pursuit. Orm says, why did you suddenly change your plan? But Surd pauses and says, I thought it was too risky. Orm questions, what do you mean? Surd says, that trainer with the straw hat. I've never seen a trainer synchronize like that with their Pokemon to increase their powers. See, I keep saying it, but it's really not a joke. It's friggin' aura. Like, no lie. That's that same stuff I'd be seeing Ash do with his friggin' Greninja and his Lucario and stuff. It's like, nah, that feels like some aura right there. I get that it took a hot minute for that to come around in the games and stuff, but no, that is aura. That is straight up aura. Feel the power of aura. It's wild how that could connect to something that wasn't even a prominent thing until... Actually, was it? Yeah, aura didn't become prominent till around Diamond and Pearl. Okay, so the movie came out around the time that this would have been out. So, yeah, okay. By this point, it's just like, no, by this point, aura was a thing in the series, but even before that, Yellow was wielding what feels like aura. But as we see a very just almost traumatized looking Silver being coddled by Surd, she tells Orm she's tracking us. We'll have to face her again sometime soon. But before that happens, I want to make sure that we deliver this boy to Giovanni. Whether you fight her or I fight her, we're likely to be defeated if we challenge her in an ordinary battle. Dang. Yo! I mean, I say Yellow has that aura, but she got that aura. Just dang. Meanwhile, on the stadium above on the ship, which... I just accidentally came upon it. It's the same ship that's in the special where Giovanni goes after Mewtwo. That's actually kind of cool. It's the same Team Rocket ship that Giovanni rode in the anime. And they brought in a lot of stuff from the anime now. I didn't even know they were going to do that. But Red calls out to Mewtwo, aim for the crystal in his chest. As Mewtwo sends out a blast towards that crystal, Deoxys goes on the defensive, forming its tendrils into hands, blocking the blast. Giovanni and his rippling pectoral says, you call that an attack, Red? You disappoint me. You're coming at me without a game plan? Do you think Deoxys is such an easy opponent you can beat that you can just make it up as you go along? I was looking forward to seeing you make full use of your skills as a trainer, you know. I mean, he would, but most of his Pokemon have been downed. But then again, you could say, hey, this is your time to show what you got when your back's against the wall. Do you crumble that easily? But Giovanni commands Deoxys to go, and it starts just ripping into Mewtwo. Mewtwo once again tries to go for the gem, but Deoxys transforms into its defensive form to block, and then goes into an attack form to strike back at Mewtwo. Giovanni tells him, you're aiming for the crystal in its chest. Not bad. But Giovanni eyes Red, saying, but how did you come up with that idea? Red tells him, Pika hit that crystal with thunder the last time we fought, and I noticed that Deoxys stopped moving for a moment after that. Giovanni says, I see. You're right to attack. You're on the right track. That crystal is Deoxys' core. And as Mewtwo goes in to strike at Deoxys, it goes into a speed form to swing around Mewtwo and strangles Mewtwo, going into his normal form. Going for a chokehold, god dang. But the blast that Mewtwo sent up in the air in the most Dragon Ball Z way possible. Now, I don't know if it was just floating or if it came back and then fell back down, but I think it stayed up in the air, and at Mewtwo's command, it comes back down at Mewtwo's command with the Psychic Spoon piercing through Deoxys' chest. Dang, that's wild. Meanwhile, back at Seven Island and the destroyed trainer tower, out of the rubble comes Ultima. So he was caught up in it, saying, "Ta-da! Have they forgotten about me? I was fighting inside that tower too. From the looks of things, they've managed to escape from inside it." But Ultima doesn't realize she's on the edge of the cliff as it gives way and she plummets. He screams, but the sailor and Lorelei see it riding on Ultima's Dragonite. Lorelei tells her shelter to use Ice Spear, which catches Ultima by her sleeves, keeping her from falling. As her Dragonite comes and picks her up, she says, "Phew, thanks. Are you all right too?" Lorelei says yes. Ultima questions, "What about the others who were in the tower?" The sailor says Red and Mewtwo were chasing after Team Rocket. Lorelei then adds, "But Blue and Green must still be inside." Ultima says, "I'm glad everyone is all right. Well then, let's go get them." As Green's parents look to each other, overjoyed to be reunited with their daughter. As they arrive topside at the slice half of the building where everyone should be inside, Lorelei says, "By the way, Ultima." Ultima says yes. Lorelei asks, "Did you accomplish what you really came here for?" Ultima's a bit taken aback, asking, "What are you implying, Lorelei?" Lorelei says, "I know you're always up to something. You stayed behind in the tower, but you didn't fight alongside Red and the others, so I have a hunch you're up to something." Ultima laughs, "Hee, you certainly are a sharp one. I could see why you were chosen as one of the Elite Four. To be honest, I was looking for something." Lorelei asks, "What?" "This old sea map. It charts the location of a place known as Faraway Island." So Faraway Island is a place that was only ever featured in Pokemon Emerald and is the location of Mew. Okay, probably shouldn't have spoiled that for myself, but I was just curious about that. But the thing is, I already knew about Faraway Island, and that's because of the Pokemon anime. In Pokemon Journeys, it was one of the few episodes I had actually watched where Go and Gary and a team had gone the island in order to find Mew, because that was one character Go's whole big thing. He was on the hunt for Mew, and they got to this island that was just had all this crazy stuff happening. I think you couldn't even really use electronics there, which I don't know if that was a thing in the games or not, but it was such a wild and big thing, and you have to use the old sea map in order to get there. Man, I really missed out on a lot of things by never playing Pokemon Emerald. What a bad time to stop. But I'm just glad that Mew is coming back into the actual story, because it was such a big part of the beginning of the original storyline. And what better place for Mew to finally make its return than here? It's just too perfect. True, the people working on this manga really know how to just tie so many out there elements all together. But man, Carr and his little betrayal there, that took me a little off guard, I'll be honest. I mean, I guess I can't really blame him to a certain degree, but man, just the intense jealousy that he had. I wonder if he'll come back to play, because he's just knocked out. And no, something tells me he's gonna come back to some degree. I do wonder if Orm is gonna make a move though, and it's hard to get a read on that guy, because any of them could be up to something more. Or could they all just, the rest of them, Orm and Surge, still just be loyal to Giovanni? And man, Silver's little realization about Giovanni being his father in was it Generations, or which was the short where he actually got to, it was Pokemon Generations, the episode where we actually finally had something that just outright confirmed or showed the little moment of Silver and his father just talking after Giovanni's defeat. I just kind of like that, because I know something that happens to Giovanni in the game where someone goes back in time and stops him from responding to Team Rocket's call from Goldenrod, but I like that in the manga, Giovanni's still making attempts. he's still making moves. He's still doing stuff in the shadows. And outside of Rainbow Rocket and Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, which I never played, but it was hard not to hear about that. Not to mention the stuff in Pokemon Masters. I just like the idea that Giovanni is still out there, biding his time, waiting for his moment to just bring Team Rocket back. Because Giovanni just feels like the one adversary that never really had a concrete conclusion to his storyline. That last conversation he had with Silver, I know he just shows up from time to time, but he's just roaming like a regular Pokemon trainer. And it's like, I don't know, it feels like Giovanni should be doing more. And freaking the battle on the airship is kind of cool though. And that little moment with Yellow just, yeah, I've never felt so intimidated by her before. It's just like, dude, what is this? What's going on? Why is her power level rising? Oh man, that's wild. To be able to raise the natural leveling of your Pokemon, that is insanity. And I'm actually just glad that she's involved with this. You know, I didn't know how much of a role she was gonna play in the overall story, but seeing this is like, dude, I like this. I like that she is having a moment. It almost kind of makes me wish that she was one of the main characters in Let's Go Pikachu or Let's Go Eevee, but that's a little bit too much wishful thinking. But I'm just glad she's involved. I'm glad all these storylines are coalescing. The idea that they're using remakes, it makes me sad that they're not still doing remakes, as far as I know. Because as far as I know, when it comes to Diamond and Pearl, the remakes, nothing was really added, so I don't know if they'd actually try to do a Brilliant Diamond or Shining Pearl remake storyline. We'll see once I get around to that, whether or not they just completely close off that story. Because you could still revisit Sun and Moon with an Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon story arc, but as far as I know, they didn't do that either, so I guess we'll see. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed the ride. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, I've been Duuz-Diz-Din, and I hope to see you later. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.